So this is the actual.
My daughter got me
So Wilmer, how you doing? I'm not muted. You can't hear me. The screen is muted. Hey Megan, how you doing? One little microphones at the bottom or not.
Hey guys, one thing that I would ask you to do is, unless you're talking, can you please mute yourselves?
John, can you hear me? I'll move this one.
Hello.
Good morning, Emmaus Rotary. It's Thursday, April 22nd. In 1970, the first Earth Day was held. I remember as a young married woman going to the local high school for a teach-in. We had already come a long way because in 1952 on this date, there was the first nationally televised atomic bomb test. David Dunn has our invocation today.
Let us be a source of hope for those in need and contentment for those who are lonely. Let us give gratitude for our opportunity to serve Rotary. Let the feelings of love, kindness, and a well-directed yet gentle spirit always be reflected in our actions. Amen.
Thank you, David. And now, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Sal, do you have our guests?
We have several guests today, which is a nice change from the past. From Allentown West, we have two guests, Gail Micka. Hi, Gail. Welcome. And John Scott, also from Allentown West. Welcome. In addition to that, David Ritter from McCarthy is here today. And lastly, a potential new member, Keith Hefner. And we have one person on I guess it's Vox Tandem still, right? Okay. Jan E. I don't know Jan's last name. Jan, can you wave?
There she is.
Thank you, Sal.
That's it. Thank you.
Sal. Okay. Gail is my guest. She's the president-elect at Allentown West, and she wanted to do a field trip to see how we do a hybrid meeting, how we meet in person and online at the same time. They're having trouble getting restarted out of COVID. They were up at Luther Crest, and that's no longer a possible meeting site for them. So if you can help her out, if you know a good place besides Brookside. Okay. The first club announcement I have is pretty exciting, guys. We have the election results. So our next year, Mike Waddell's year, 2021, 2022, these are your directors. And I'm going to do them alphabetically, not by their popular vote. Wade George. Nellie Cabria. Yeah. Courtney Kennedy. And Eric Locke. Okay. Are there other club announcements? Mike.
Orientation tonight. So we're going to keep it to 60 minutes or less. Let's see, Rick, Roger, Gary, Dee, and so on, Seal. Make sure you're there at 7 o'clock. Wade's put out the link. We have a
6:30.
quick agenda.
6:30.
You did put out the link, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
6:30 though.
6:30.
6:30?
See you at. All right.
Be there.
Always the last to know.
I think you changed it to 6:30. I don't remember.
Mike,
Anyway.
Mike, Pacific time.
6:30 tonight, before recording.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll see you tonight.
Thank you, Mike.
As of this point, we don't have anybody signed up for Camp Night yet. But if we do get anybody who's interested in attending this virtual camp, part of it is a service project. And I was thinking that the service project would be that they could hydro seed my yard, but that's probably inappropriate. So if there's something that the club would like these Camp Night campers to do as a one-day service project, it's actually like a half-day service project. Bring those ideas to Lexa so that we have something to go on if we do have anybody who wants to.
Thank you, Larry.
Thanks.
Okay. I hope so. He's going to his audiovisual aids.
Beef and beer or bags and beer, whichever you like to call it, at Geo Italian Restaurant, Route 100. Registration's fully open. We're filling up fast. Please go on and register. If you need flyers, I have them. We also have posters if you'd like to put one in your place of business, or if you know other people that would put a poster up for us. But registration's open. It's really easy. I want to thank Mark Earl for all he did in getting the registration open and the whole team for the whole coordinator. So it should be a lot of fun. We're looking for an exciting time. So thank you. Any questions? Come see me.
Thank you, Sal. The profits from that go towards our East Penn Feeding Families program. Okay. Karen?
I'd like to thank the people who came out for Earth Day. I'd like to thank Gary Guthrie, Mike Waddell, Gordon Rees, Carl Weaver, Don Blows, and Nicole Stera, and myself. Some of those people also came with their wives. We had a lot of people over at Remembrance Garden, and it looks absolutely fantastic. And the Earth Day went pretty well in Emmaus. So thank you to all who came out to support me.
Thank you, Karen. Rick?
Quickly, remember golf tournament coming up in September 13th. We are looking for one more major sponsor for the tournament. This year, we're going to do a fundraiser, and we're going to do the same thing we did in the past. Instead of this year, the Masters are going to a ticket for the 150th British Open, which will be next year. Hopefully, Britain will be open then, so we can travel there. And we're also having a trip to the Caribbean for the people who don't like the golf, and some other prizes to go along with that. So look forward to that coming up in the next 2 weeks.
Thank you, Rick. Okay. September 13th. I have the final announcement. There's a board meeting following our regular breakfast meeting. Okay. So we can move on to our door prize. Who has the basket?
Pick a lucky ticket.
Last 3, 2, 1, 9. Now it's Terry.
Congratulations, Dee.
It is a $20 gift card.
Whoa.
And beer and everything else. So I usually don't like to do fines in this time, but it has come to my attention that well, yeah, I do want to keep fine. I try to curtail that because of COVID, trying to be happy. But there's a guest today who happens to be a president-elect that doesn't have a pin or a name badge on. So my guess is when she was invited, our president didn't tell her that she should have done those things. So rather than find a guest, I'm going to find a president.
She's an expensive date.
Now, in case you guys heard, I was part of the cleanup on Saturday. I was up at Shelter House and the snow dump. Anybody want to take a guess what unique item I found there?
Shovel.
I'll give you a hint. It's a quieting item. Now, obviously, I found water bottles and beer cans and diapers, but I found a rather large quieting item up there by the dump. I have happy dollars if somebody wants to try and take a guess, and we'll go along. So any other happiness people are thinking about what I might have heard.
Heard or found?
Well, go ahead. Just think so.
A quieting item could be like a blankie.
A what?
A blankie, a blanket,
A blanket?
or a pacifier.
Maybe I'll just muffle what you're saying. Go ahead.
Am I guessing or am I doing happy?
You're doing happy dollars. Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm on the spot.
No, no.
I have happy dollars because we had 2 successful virtual RFPs in our district. And Megan was on the one for the Young Rotarian with Barcelona. And we also had one with Singapore. So gave her name.
Rotary Fellowship Exchange.
Yep.
Friendship Exchange.
Gordon.
Yeah, I have 2 happy dollars. It's a great day at the Remembrance Garden on Saturday. My picture's in the paper, but I was misrepresented. Craig Reber.
Happy to see our friends from Allentown West. As president-elect, Gail, you need to get the rules. And I'm happy because we have our guest Keith Hefner, who actually was a referral from a Warminster Rotary Club member. So Rotary keeps in strange ways.
Other happiness going around? Happiness out there? Go ahead.
I'm leading a project with our club for growing food for hungry people. And yesterday I was able to pick up this class that donated from the farm.
Well done.
I got 2 happy.
Awesome, thank you.
Today I'm happy because I was able to drop my daughter off at middle school at Iron Middle School and drive over here and eat breakfast with everyone. Happy to see you.
Virtual world and happiness in virtual world.
Nobody's happy.
Nobody's happy out there. John, you're not wearing any advertisement on you, are you? Okay, I didn't see that. Go ahead, Gary.
I'm happy that Gail and Jeff were able to join us, and I'm also very happy their food project is really phenomenal. They did it all last year. Gail had set it up and have all these raised garden beds at the Citronia Community Garden area, and Emmaus was able to donate a couple of the raised beds that we weren't able to use. So she and her club have used that as well. So it's good working together between the clubs. Thank you.
Anybody want to take a wild guess what I might have found in the dump? Well, I'm happy I don't have to pay the happy dollars, but I will anyway. It was a truck muffler was laying up in the dump. It was about this big by this big. Didn't fit in any plastic bags. So, and I forgot a pin, so here's mine.
Oh, Sarge.
Go ahead, back to you.
Hey, Chris, did you?
Oh, you don't have a pin?
Was it a no pin?
Was it a no pin?
It wasn't open.
The.
As I say, I don't want to belabor fun, but Chris is her pin, and so.
Okay, I'm going to let Megan have the microphone and introduce our program.
Good morning, Emmaus Rotary Club. So yeah, it's Earth Day, and I thought that it might be appropriate to have a speaker come talk to us with something related to the environment. So we have, I'm gonna kind of look at them too, because Nora, our speaker, is joining us virtually this morning. Nora Goldstein is the editor, publisher of BioCycle Connect and biocycle.net, the Organics Recycling Authority. Nora has authored numerous articles on all facets of zero waste, food recovery and recycling, compost and anaerobic digestion, as well as organized many conferences on these topics. She received the U.S. Composting Council's High Kellogg Award for outstanding service to the composting industry and the American Biogas Council's Biogas Visionary Award. So I'm really excited to hear what Nora has to say. Composting is something that I've been wanting to learn more about and get into myself. And I'm hoping that we can all take some small steps to make some progress in doing that ourselves at home and maybe create some sort of service project together and down the road. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Nora and possibly John Chiska to start our program. And I just want to also say thank you to John for setting everything up in advance and always taking us to the next level. You're the man, John. And thanks, Nora, for joining us this morning virtually. Thanks.
Great. Good morning, everybody. Going to do a quick check just to see if things are operating correctly. So can you hear me? Excellent. That's step one. Step two, can you see my screen? All right. Now I'm going to do something. And you're going to tell me if it went to the next slide. Did it? Yes. All right. We're in business. So very excited to be with you. I see a few familiar faces, including my neighbor. And as Megan said, I'm an editor of BioCycle, but I just want to give you a real fast history. I'm a graduate of Emmaus High School, class of '74. I grew up here. My kids went through East Penn schools. I live in Emmaus. I grew up here. My father, Jerry Goldstein, some of you may remember if you're old enough, started a magazine called Compost Science when he was at Rodale Press. And at the time, he was an editor of Organic Gardening and Farming magazine. And he always saw what happened in the garden and on the farm in terms of making sure you capture all your organic waste and transform them into a material that you can put back in the soil, and really saw the application of composting in those environments to handling different streams of municipal waste or industrial waste products that obviously are all non-hazardous, but not being utilized. And I think, really honored to be with you all on Earth Day. I just happened into this career. I was a senior in college when my father decided to leave Rodale Press and start a family business. And I just, being a history major, I was pretty much recruited to come and work for the family business, and it's all I've ever done. So one of the areas that I focus a lot on, and it's been really neat to hear you talking about the food projects with the community gardens and plant a row, grow a row to give food back to the community. But probably something a lot of people don't think about when you're at a gathering like you are, and I am very jealous because your breakfast looks a lot better than what I had. But what's going to happen to those food scraps on your plate? For the most part, they'll go back into the kitchen, they'll get scraped in the garbage. And that's what happens. And we do that in our homes, and we do that in our businesses and our schools and everywhere else where we consume food or prepare food. or make food in the sense of food manufacturing or whatever it might be. So I'm just going to take you on a little journey this morning. First, I wanted to paint a picture because a lot of attention in the last, well, it's well over 10 years, probably not quite 15, has been on how much food, we waste in this country. And the practices of how to manage food were outlined in what's called the food recovery hierarchy. It was developed by somebody else, but it was coined by the Environmental Protection Agency. And so you can see the very top part of the pyramid is source reduction. So it's basically how we can waste less food. But then you all are very actively involved in the second, which is if you have food that you have, but you didn't use, is to make sure that extra food gets donated to food banks. A really more recent development, but again, it's a number of years, is how to get prepared food that wasn't served to soup kitchens and pantries. And so there's been a lot of really exciting enterprises and whatnot developed around that. And then going down the hierarchy to feed animals. So you're still using food as food. And then this hierarchy puts anaerobic digestion above composting. Of course, we think composting is important. And then lastly, to landfill. And what's interesting is what happens in reality is this is much more of a circle than a pyramid. In other words, you may get to composting, after you feed hungry people, you have food that just went bad in the process. Well, you're going to probably put that in composting. So it's not necessarily you go down the rungs, but it's just a way to think about food. And the reason food is so important is a couple of things, which I'll get to on the next slide. But this is the EPA every year releases what's called I think they call it sustainable materials management now, but it's essentially facts and figures on municipal solid waste and what happens to it. And by weight, what we throw away most in this country is food, 24%. And you can see with all the other, by weight, what we're throwing away. Food is, by far and away the leader. So this really draws the attention of, well, why the heck are we throwing away so much food? And that gets us to a few food waste facts that really has brought management of food waste and better use of food to the forefront over these past, 10 years. And all. And so one of the things that's really important is that when you throw food waste in the landfill, it decomposes and generates methane before you can cap that landfill cell. And if you're going to, I don't want to go into the weeds, but there's a number of landfills that when that food waste and other organic waste decomposes, they're able to capture it as biogas, landfill gas, and turn it into energy. But what happens with food waste is it breaks down and emits the methane before it can get captured. And methane is, from a greenhouse gas perspective, I put over 20 times, some of the literature says over 30 times, but more potent than carbon dioxide. This part, the second and third, fourth bullets here are really what you were all talking about. And in the United States, 35% of all food that's grown and processed goes unsold or uneaten, but over 80 million tons. And years ago, when this first came out, the woman who kind of led the study described it as you go into the store, you come out with 3 bags of groceries, you drop one and you keep walking. So that's how much food the average we waste on average in this country. And that's when you're thinking about hunger, and 1 in 6 Americans, and many of them children, are food insecure. And that number really is of great concern right now because of the impacts of COVID and all the different social ramifications that have happened around that. But it's 130 billion meals worth of food. So what has happened over the years is EPA and then others. But this is just a program called Food Too Good to Waste. And it's these educational outreach programs that local government has adopted in some cases. And it really walks through how much food are we wasting, and you can do measurements. And we have so many articles in our archives. If this is of interest, let me know, because I'm happy to send you links. And then a fun food site that came out by the National Resource Defense Council called SaveTheFood.com. And it's got all these different toolkits, but it really, I'll just give you an example. One is, you have a box in your refrigerator called Eat Me First. And that's just to make sure that anything that's going, that those scallions that are on the verge of just getting a little too slimy or, other things, you want to be sure that, that gets consumed in your household. Also, just when you're making your lists. So it goes through all these different calculators, and they do a lot with school kids and programs where they weigh how much food their, scraps they have at home and how much food they might be throwing away. So a lot of math problems involved, and I could go on that front. But I just want to tell you a little bit about my home composting journey. As editor of a magazine about composting, it's sort of required that I at least know what pretending, or what at least I pretend to know what I'm talking about. And so I go through this process. You can buy these or get at giveaways, the countertop bin, and I just use a produce bag, capture my food scraps in it. And this is only your vegetative food scraps. When you're composting at home, for the most part, unless you're really, really good and managing it in a way that you're getting temperatures that are high enough to destroy pathogens that might be in meat products, for example. For the most part, it's all your vegetative. You can do soiled paper like your napkins, and coffee grounds. You can put in your grass clippings. So the key to backyard, I use these units called earth machines because we ran conferences. I was able sometimes when the vendors had these units that they didn't want to pack up and ship back, we would get them. So basically my home composting setup is I just keep leaves inside some chicken wire, have these two bins. One is adequate. I just got greedy. And it's really a mix of, when you're composting, there's 3 key ingredients. And one is to have your carbon to nitrogen ratio. So you need a good balance of leaves, which are your browns, which are your carbon, to your food scraps, which are your greens, which is the nitrogen. And it's not scientific at all, at least for me. And you kind of know when you're mixing it together. If it's really wet and sloppy, you need more carbon. If it's really, really dry, well, then you need, again, you can add more food scraps or just cut back on the carbon until you get the balance. And then moisture is kind of the third, critical component. And then oxygen isn't something you really can measure. And these systems are very forgiving, but you'll see I just use a little, I don't even know what you call a 3-pronged thing, not a pitchfork. And I just, every time I add food scraps in, I just give it a little bit of a toss around. It's my favorite. I've looked at a lot. If you go to the city of Seattle has composting at home guide. You can find it on their website. It just walks you through all this in a much more technical way than I'm sharing right now. So this is what the inside looks like. It's a vegetarian diet. I give it a lot of caffeine because that happens to be what I give myself. And then grass clippings, if you have them, they break down really fast. They're a source of nitrogen. And if you really want to, for fun, watch your compost bin heat up, throw some of those in and mix it up with your leaves, and you can actually start to feel some heat. And composting is a process whereby the microbes break down the materials, and there's this generation of heat that just activates sort of the decomposition process. And in industrial scale facilities, they're very careful to go through what we call the mesophilic stage, which is temperatures around 90 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and then up into the thermophilic stage, which is more like 130 to 150. And you go through these periods to really get the breakdown. And if you have meat in it, that usually takes care of it. Carbon is leaves. You can do wood chips, and then you get the compost. And I just did this the other day when I was putting the presentation together. I put in eggshells, and they don't really break down that. I mean, they'll get in smaller and smaller pieces, but you can see if you come to my house and look along where I put compost down, you can see these little fragments. They don't hurt anything. They're calcium. They'll break down over time. So couple things, when you add food scraps, you always want to add water if it looks dry, because if there's not moisture in there, nothing will happen. It just kind of dries up and stops the biological process. Time frame varies. If you're an active home composter and really get in there and move the materials around, it's faster. And you can keep, at least in this system, you can keep adding to the top because that fresh material, and then on my unit, you just lift up the store and go in and scoop out the compost. And you can put it on, I don't garden at home. So I literally toss it around on my yard sometimes, and then I use it in all my house plants. Just sprinkle a little bit in, or if you're repotting a plant, take a good handful and throw it in and mix it with the potting soil, and you'll see your plants really boom. So I just wanted to end with sort of that next step up, and you all sounds like you're involved already with community gardens, and community gardens are a really good place to educate households about composting, and they may or may not be able to do it at home, but around the country, there's more and more places where if you have a garden there, you can bring your food scraps and compost them at the community garden. And then obviously you can use the compost in the garden. And the other thing we're seeing is a lot of entrepreneurs. So there's about 300, well, probably more, 400 communities in the United States that literally drive down the street and will pick up your food scraps, either by themselves or mixed in with, if you have curbside collection of your yard trimmings, you can add them to that bin. But there's, for the most part, if you want to compost your food scraps and you don't want to do it at home, you're sort of out of luck. So these entrepreneurs have started, these pickup services, and you can see you sign up, you pay a subscription fee, and then they come around and you put out your bucket, and then they'll take the bucket and oftentimes go to a community garden type site, or what we call a community composting site. So we're seeing this really proliferate, and it's great because you can, we're really excited. We see a lot of this community gardening, community composting, these kinds of collection services happening in lower income communities where you really need youth training and engagement and employment. And so they, hire the bike riders and train them, and then they come back and they learn how to manage food scraps. And every now and then these people start their own little businesses. So it's a lot of engagement. It addresses food access issues, food insecurity. youth employment, and then just straight out entrepreneurs. There's some companies doing this that are, doing really well. So I'm going to stop there. That's my email. And again, happy to, or stop by, socially distant, happy to show you what I'm doing here. So I'm going to stop presenting and see what you want to do next.
Yeah, I think we could take some questions. Oh, sorry. We have some questions, Nora. So we're gonna take the microphone around to some of the guests here at Brookside.
Wonderful.
Nora, good morning. David Dunn here. So what's the time frame between when you throw scraps into the composter till soil comes out at the bottom?
So it really kind of depends on how scientific you are and what the ambient temperature is. In the summer, in the warmer months, it's easier to maintain warmer temperatures in your bin. The more you mix it around and make sure, there's such a thing you can call a squeeze test to see if your compost is the moisture's right. And you just literally pick up a handful and squeeze it and water comes running down your fingers. There's too much. If you open your fist and there's absolutely nothing on your hand, then it's too dry. What you want is to see kind of just a layer on your hand. So if you're maintaining those conditions, I would say you could probably get it within 4 to 6 months with my kind of system. Some people who are able to have some space and want to build like what we call a bin system. So you literally just can take pallets or put some chicken wire on the edges and really get in there more. You'll probably can do it in 4 months. I actually haven't ever timed myself at an industrial scale or even a community composting when they're getting to higher temperatures. There's some that can do 3-month turnaround.
Sal has a question.
Hi, Nora. Great presentation. 2 questions. One is the earth machine you showed. It had a lid on it. Is that essential, or can you leave it to the open air? And then the second follow-up question is, I've heard a lot of people trying to do this in the city, and they complain about it attracting rodents because of the food.
Right. So good questions. The lid, in part, is because of the pests that can come around. So it just keeps it from, having easy access. Sometimes I'll leave, if I know it's going to rain, I'll leave the lid off to get some more water in there, a little more steady flow. But that's primarily why the lid is there for that. And then there's, rat proofing your urban composting bin or it has a lot to do with chicken wire and what your surface is on, because the rats can burrow. So you really want to, if you can just put that base in, and we actually I can send you links on how to do this, because the community composters, New York City has a number of those sites, and there's you can do it. It's if you're doing it casually is when you can run into trouble, because you're not really being there's too much access. So the idea again is to perhaps you want to raise it a little bit, put down some gravel, and then if you're in an urban area, then put a bin down, and that usually helps a lot.
All right, and Gail has a question.
Thank you, Nora. I'm the one starting the garden project. So one of the things that we want to add to it is an ability for people to compost with us. So I'm looking at a rotating style of compost bin where it's off the ground and it's like a barrel and you roll it. What do you think of something like that?
It's funny. I've seen them. My neighbors actually, and we call the back 40, they have a rotating one, and I think here's what it's good for is if you're getting food scraps in before you put them in like a little pile that's not in the rotary thing. It'll help break them down so they're not really runny. You'll kind of take them past that first stage, which a lot of people call the ick stage, and mix them really well with the leaves and the wood chips. And then once the food's not as visible, put it into a bin system. What we see many community gardens use is what we call like a 2-bin or a 3-bin, and I have DIYs on do it yourselves on how you can build those, and I have a good book I'm happy to lend you where you do it in the rotary first and then move it into a bin, and that way you open up space inside that drum. But to go from start to finish in one of those is not super practical.
All right, we have a question from Sue Strader.
Can you dedicate a trash can, just a regular trash can, to that, and keep it covered?
So if you're going to do that, you want to make sure that you poke enough holes because oxygen, I probably didn't emphasize that enough, is really key. Because if you were just to put it in a trash can and a lid, that's where you're getting into what we call more of an anaerobic situation, because you're not getting as much oxygen in there, and that can get pretty unpleasant from a smell standpoint. So you can, and I'm sure there are even units like you see them where they just have holes in the sides to allow the air movement. So it's possible. I would experiment before you really load it up. Like, give it a shot.
Okay. And do you put that in? Is it better to have a shady spot or a sunny spot, or does that not make a difference?
What's nice is when your bins get some sun, it helps keep the contents warm and facilitate the decomposition. But it's not necessary. You can, if you're doing the right mix, enough of the right mix of greens to browns, the microbes will generate the heat.
Okay, we have 2 more questions in-house, and if anyone has any questions online, we can figure out how we are on time then. But Roger has a question.
Thank you for your presentation. Very informative. I've long been a great believer in composting. In fact, for many years, I thought I'd add my mother-in-law to the pile. But then I realized she probably wouldn't decompose.
Oh, okay. So more of a.
So just real quick.
A comment.
real quick. We wrote an article very recently about and it's gotten a lot of publicity. It's called Recompose, and it's a human composting service out in the Seattle area. So you can do that with your mother-in-law if you so choose. That's right.
Nora, hi. I have a question. My composter at home has multiple layers, and until I fill it all the way to the top, which doesn't happen very fast, do I remove those layers to have less space inside, or?
I'm sorry, what kind of layers?
There's like each side, they're like, you can slide them on and off to make it shorter or taller. I didn't know if that had a function other than just making it smaller or larger.
I'm not familiar with that. I would argue that it's more like, if you're just doing a little bit.
Okay.
And one thing that's really amazing is if you, just as an experiment, if you separate your food scraps, again, you can't really, but when you're doing it at home, you can't really put in your meat, your fat, your bones and whatnot. But it's really the produce that's so heavy. You'll find if you're not putting that in, it really reduces how much trash you have. And so the reason there's so much food waste in the landfill is it's heavy. It's almost all water. So it's it's, you can just for fun do it, just separate them. You can throw them away if you don't want to compost them, but just to really get a sense of how much, and you'll see how much you're throwing away.
Are there any questions on Vox Tandem? Courtney has a question. You can unmute yourself, Courtney.
Okay, yeah, Nora, hey, so I have this habit of, when I walk around town, I'll pick up some worms that are stranded on the sidewalk and then I'll throw them in my compost. Does that actually make it compost faster, or am I just being
No, not
stupid?
at all. Not at all. And I think that's hysterical because after it rains, I'll be going down the sidewalk, picking the worms up and tossing them back in the grass. And I'm like, so I'm glad to know I'm not the only one that tried to rescue them. No, I just wrote an article this week on a business. It's at a city in collaboration with the city of Geneva, New York, and they're doing vermicomposting. So worms, with mine, there were many years where I had a lot of worms in my bin. They just naturally populated it from the ground up. So no, it's a good thing. Worms definitely will break down material that's, still in the process. In some cases, it'll accelerate it and it'll make your compost super duper. So.
Nora, this is Bob. I have a question. Are there any rules and regulations with our townships that we should be aware of if we wanted to start a compost pile?
So the only time that we've run into that is like if it's a homeowners association or that kind of thing. And there very well may be, to my knowledge, in Lehigh County, I don't know of any situation like that. So I would say, and it's a very natural extension of a garden. So for that reason, usually it's not like when you're putting up a fence or a pool, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Those were a lot of. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Nora.
Well, I was going to say it never hurts to check, but I see a fair number of, not that many like I have, but I'm always excited when I see homes in Emmaus have them when I'm walking around.
We had a lot of really good questions. We are at time, so I want to thank Nora again for presenting virtually to the club. Nora, if you don't mind, would you mind hanging online for a couple minutes after? Because I think there might be a few other questions that people might want to come up and ask it on the computer. Would that be okay with you?
Sure. So just answer in the chat?
Yeah, well, we can just kind of do like this kind of business.
Okay.
Like right here. Okay. I'm going to hand it back to Alexa.
Sarge, I'm asking for a personal point of privilege. I was so busy paying my fine for Gail that I forgot why I had Happy Dollars. May I give my Happy Dollars now? That's fine. I am super, super happy to see John Zettelmoyer back with us after a nice long See? You have to know there's smiles under these masks. Okay, let's stand and do the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do. First. Second. Third. Fourth. Okay, get your shots, keep wearing your mask, keep your distances, use your hand sanitizers. Board meeting, remember the board meeting.
Thanks, Nora. If you're talking to us, we can't hear you.
I think you're on mute.
Try that. Hi, Nora. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. So about 10 years ago, I think it was McCountry Borough gave out those black bins that you had. I'm pretty sure they were free. They came with instructions. And I was wondering if the boroughs were planning to do anything like that again.
I actually looked to see before being on the meeting if Lehigh County was doing any bin giveaways or any, because the county used to as well. I did not see any, but it's a really good initiative if you can get it going. And sometimes you can get state grant, like get money from the state to, as a borough to do a bin giveaway, or at least a really good rebate, like where people pay $10 for, just have some money so that at least if they get it and they buy it, they'll try to use it versus just getting it as a giveaway.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy to talk more if that's of interest, because not as many as we used to see, but there are still bin giveaways happening. Not in this, I haven't seen it here locally.
Thank you, Nora.
Sure.
I think that's everybody's questions. Yep. I think that's everything. Thank you, Nora.
Thank you.
Hopefully see you around Emmaus.
Yep, I hope to.
I live next to the best, one of the best gardeners in Emmaus, so he puts me to shame every day.
Okay, well,
yeah.
Far put me to shame. And I'm sure their compost is beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good morning, Courtney. Can you hear me at all? This is Eric.
Hey, how's it doing, Eric?
Okay, all right. I just wasn't sure. I haven't usually done the Vox thing, so I just wanted to test for the regular board stuff. So you do worm rescue, eh?
Because when I was in college, I had this research project I had to do where I killed hundreds and hundreds of worms during the research project. And I think I've got a lot of guilt. So whenever it's raining, I take the worms and throw them on the grass usually. But then when I think about it, I'm like, oh, I'm going to put them in my compost. So.
Yeah, no, it's great. I've done some of the same. I'm not as dedicated as you, but I've definitely tossed worms back onto the grass.
Yeah.
As soon as a bird or something get it, instead of it just drying up and shriveling on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very good. Well, just don't toss any Megans away.
Hey,
She's a very strong aversion to worms.
Oh, really?
Very strong, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So, Eric, where in Emmaus are you?
Sorry?
Where in Emmaus are you?
Just down on First and Spruce.
Okay, because I think I saw you and your wife walking one time.
You did, even yesterday. You were out
yeah?
working in the side. I didn't realize you're right at the top of the intersection, I guess, Spruce and Barrett or close to that, where all those three little roads kind of come together.
Yeah. So you guys walked by me?
Yes. Yeah. We kind of came up that way yesterday, and I looked back. I'm thinking, no, I'm pretty sure it's Courtney, but I don't want to embarrass myself and all that kind of stuff. But now knowing that, yes, where you live there, but we try and take walks on a somewhat regular basis.
Nice.
Well, my question is, what did John leave?
Yeah, he left. So we gave me instructions. So
Okay.
we're not going to turn this off. We're going to take this whole thing over. I have to unplug.
Good. I'm doing just fine, thank you.
He's got this set up over there.
Yeah.
We have to take this apart.
So it seems like everything went well for the meeting this morning with Wade and Megan and John running things. It looks like meeting-wise, everything went well.
Hey, Rose.
Morning, Rose.
What we do with the speakers.
We have Kennedy and Rose and Rick. So we're going to do the board meeting.
So, one option is I could just go onto the program with my phone and then just use my phone to broadcast it. Or
Nope,
did he give you instructions?
Yes, we carry this over to the other room, and he's got it all set up in there.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he already has it all set up.
So all we gotta do is pull.
Now, this microphone, this big one, stays here in this room, right?
I believe that's correct.
Okay.
So you want to carry this over?
What? So we are doing a virtual exchange. It's going to be very much.
Wait a second, I can't hear.
It's very much like a
Okay, now when you say,
Are you going to the board?
I want to see
Email?
how it goes.
Okay.
So yeah, I would like to go if I'm allowed. Okay, because if I'm going to be on this board, I should like get a feel for it.
By the way, I emailed you this morning.
I already responded back to you because I saw a couple things. One is the first shingle estimate, which that happens all the time with the CAT unit from Allstate. But what I saw was that they had labeled depreciation is not recoverable. So I need to see your deck page. So I'm concerned that they scheduled the roof with scheduled depreciation. So we got to look at the deck.
Okay.
And then obviously I want to go see it with you whenever.
And I actually have another opportunity for you. I want to do a big commercial one.
Okay.
You do commercial, right?
Absolutely.
I'll talk to you about it.
All right. Cool. All right. Whoa.
Just turn it off. I'm gonna take it.
Huh? No, I have instructions, pal. I'm obeying commands.
Good morning, Wade.
Carry your step away.
Talking that all of a sudden they all went blind. It's like, holy crap. Where you put your money is where your beliefs are.
Well,
You
that's
can
true.
say whatever you want. Now.
You've not been back to a meeting.
No, this is uncharted water for me, pal.
See, and you gotta get used to it now because you're gonna be coming to these.
I understand. I've been
When does he
made a
officially start?
master
In
here.
July?
July 1, yeah. I mean, he can come at any time.
Right.
Really?
That's what I
July
said.
1 is when he officially starts.
So you can put that right on that center round table there.
Okay.
right?
Of course, it would be a round table.
Did they announce for the for people with the corridor?
All right.
Just don't take Mike's seat. 'Cause he's an important guy.
All right.
Him and Lex will run the whole thing. We don't even have to say anything.
All right. Now, all right. As far as microphone, you guys know how to make that work on this?
Let's plug this in.
Yeah.
So far, we
Can you hear us?
okay.
Yeah, you guys are loud and clear.
How about that? Oh, here she comes.
Almost too clear.
But I don't know what we do about power.
Um,
I'm guessing it would probably be okay for an hour.
well, let's see.
Michelle?
What's the back? It's at 100%,
Oh,
so
we're
it should
good.
be all right.
They run down fast, so we need a fast meeting.
Not gonna get many arguments from this group, Lex.
And I'm gonna type.
Sal, you okay?
They announced.
Yep, I got it right now.
And Rose, you seem to be rather muffled when you're speaking.
Yeah.
You can pull up a chair if you want, Wade.
Chris, I'm thinking not to move this $10,000 until closer to the end of the year,
I'm totally flexible.
in case something comes up, because feels like we're tight.
We're not.
I have a $26,000 check from the scout, from the golf outing that was deposited this month.
Okay, that's really for next.
Well, it comes into the money now, so we're really not tight, but we'll talk.
Okay,
2 pages for you if you don't care.
thank you.
Alexa, the other comment that I'll make is the last several years, we've had extra funds there that's sitting.
Eric, is this a
Once I
little
make this-
better?
Once the deposit.
Yes, yeah, even your video looks better
50,000 to
too.
start the month.
I figured I'd even
Over,
back.
close to 70,000.
Okay.
I was asking, did you announce the new 4 board members?
So we're really not tight, but certainly we can talk.
Well, I see us 3, but I know, I'm assuming the rest are in-house.
No, I don't mean that. I mean, I heard them saying that we elected for the upcoming year. Did they announce the other 3 are?
Great work.
I'm not sure if Jim announced that yet.
My accountant was working with me.
Bill,
Actually, I think this one just went out. A new one, okay. There was a Russell Hampton one that went out within the last couple of days.
Meeting with Cindy.
Jim, let me give you the
Following her
sign-in
home.
sheet.
Tell me what she wants.
Your head's spinning, feel free to call me.
They're bringing the right bucket.
Yeah.
We don't have any, we do have some box people.
Yeah, we're free. Courtney, Eric, and Rose. Thank you, Rose.
No worries.
Okay, I think we're all here. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from March 25th? Okay,
So
any
moved.
additions, corrections? Okay, a vote to approve them? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Secretary's report, Jim?
Okay. Let's see, I forgot to bring printouts. You all got it in the mail and it'll be in the minutes, but I forgot to bring a copy of the secretary's report physically. For March, we had 4 meetings. We had a total average attendance with makeup was 45%. And without makeup or virtual makeup, it's 32%. So we had average makeup of 13%. We have 93 active members, 5 honorary for 98, where we've been for the last 3 months. And the only person in our list specifically is leave of absence, Dale Dries. The election results are out. Wade, Nellie, Courtney, and Eric. It was a good election. A lot of, the votes are all packed tight. We have, we don't have 4 home runs and 4 people getting any votes. It's really close. 37 people voted in the first out of 93. That's not too good. And 40 people voted in the second ballot out of 93. So I think that's, that's how it is. Our club is 1/3 of the people are really engaged, and that's just how it is. About 2/3 of the votes come by email. That's how it works. And the board already did vote on this new member, Eileen from Nellie, and it's been out to the club now we have 7 days for anyone to bring objections, and a week from last evening, she'll probably become a member. And I think that's all. We want to talk at some point about $30
I think
application.
that comes up in the membership report.
Okay.
Thank you.
Quick question. Jim, how many years now have we done the voting via email, or is this the first or second year?
I don't remember now. It's been 2 years.
I was thinking last year with COVID and.
Yeah.
You need it?
I don't know, it's a couple of years, yeah. Yeah.
Do you think it would make it easier for you if we set up the voting kind of like how we did the DDI survey? Like people can just click and we would tabulate the numbers for you, so it's like easier?
I don't know. I think this works all right. Just, I've had everything. People take a picture of their voted ballot and email it to me and text me, and I got one by mail again this year, postage stamp. I don't mind, I get a few texts, a few voicemails, a few calls, actually. I called a boomer and he said, I forgot to vote, here's my vote. So I think it works all right.
Jim, with the new member, Eileen, who contacts her to welcome her into the club?
That I don't know. That's a process that maybe your group ought to do. The process we're in right now is that I'm going to make her a member, and I'm going to announce the club she's a member, so she'll get an email from Club Runner welcoming. Pardon me?
Okay, so Wade or Courtney or myself would contact her and let her know that she's now a member of the Emmaus Rotary Club?
Well, maybe we ought to talk offline, because what I said is I'll make her a member of the Emmaus Rotary Club, and then I'll send a note to everyone that she's now a member, and she'll receive that. So,
Okay.
I mean, if you don't want it to go that way, you want to let her know before she finds out the club email.
Usually there's been very rigid here, but there's been somebody that contacts to welcome them, because, I mean, if I got an email saying I'm a member and nobody even welcomed me, so they usually give them a call first.
I think that's, yeah, I think that's true.
And then it goes out.
That's what has happened.
Good.
So what do we decide there? Wade or Courtney or I will do it, correct?
Whoever the current.
It's your committee.
Shared membership. Wade. right?
Well, Wade and Courtney, and I'm the advisor. Okay, Wade, how about you and Courtney? I think you're certainly taking it over. You and Courtney decide who's going to call her and welcome her to the club, okay? Perfect.
Sure, I'm happy doing that.
Okay. Any other questions for Jim? Thank you, Jim. And now treasurer's report. Chris. Oh, you are present. I'm sorry. That was dendritis from the last meeting.
First column, for the month of March, not a lot of activity. A small profit of just over $400 for the month. Year-to-date, second column, once again, a small profit of just over $150. One quick comment. Very late in the month of March, I received the golf proceeds from the ERC Foundation, or the Emmaus Rotary Foundation. The check that was deposited in the month of April is roughly $26,000. So that is not reflected in these numbers, but obviously will be reflected in the month of April. Page 2 is a summary of our fundraising. As I just indicated, the golf outing proceeds, or the net proceeds, came in April, so that will be reflected in next month's treasurer's report. And then the next page is a summary of where we're at year to date. Right-hand column, the checking account balance is roughly $44,000. Again, that balance will go up significantly as of April 30th with that $26,000 deposit. In addition, the mutual fund account, or the accounts with Edward Jones that are earmarked for our scholarship funds, as of March 31st, the balance in the mutual fund account was just over $79,000. So the comment that I'll make there is, this is an important concept. Obviously, investments have done very well over the last basically year, since it bottomed out last spring. So that's part of the reason why the significant growth that you're seeing here. As of June 30th, that mutual fund account was valued at $63,000. It is all the way up at $79,000 as of March 31st. The other comment that I'll make is, and more so on the local project side, we had a budget. This goes back to the first page of the report. We had a budget of roughly $10,000 for local projects, and even on the international side, it's the same concept. We had significant dollars budgeted, and as is the case, or as was the case for the last several years, we haven't done a lot as far as expenditures yet. So I did mention earlier that obviously the account balance with the golf proceeds will go up dramatically, but between now and year end, there theoretically could be some large expenditures related to these projects. I'm out of the loop there as far as if and when those projects are going to occur, but certainly my comment is we're significantly under budget with respect to those expenditures. And if and when those funds are spent, obviously that would bring the account back down. Any questions? Yes, Cindy.
Chris, something changed, I think, between last month and this month.
Okay.
Because you have a line for the food program.
Okay.
So in April, we had grant monies come in,
Okay.
582. Then Mario was sending you some money from the foundation.
Okay.
To net the expense.
Yep.
But additionally, in that local project budget, and when I sat down with Nicole, and Karen, we have a $5,000 grant plus 5,000 that we had budgeted for the Rodale toilet project.
Okay.
And it's going to be very complicated because that project was held off because of COVID.
Okay.
They expect it to be in September now. I just heard from Gary Guthrie, but that was in there.
Okay.
So that was
In the local project, Cindy?
we had it separated,
I'll-
so
I'll
it's a
look.
total of 10,000.
I'll look at it
5,000
closer.
that we already received and all that. And that meant when we calculated, the local project still has about 2,000 left.
I'll have to look at it after the meeting,
And
Cindy.
then, yeah, because we're gonna have to carry that over into
Okay.
next year.
That's fine.
And then Mike will be adding new lines.
What I'll do there, Cindy, is I haven't been able to spend a lot of time on this,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
after the meeting, over the next couple of days, maybe you and I can, and I can give you where we're at here today, and you can make corrections as need be.
Okay.
No problem.
And I'll also be asking you to release the money. I'll be asking you to release the shelter box money,
Okay, not a problem.
but I'll send you an email.
And I put a message in the chat channel for Chris.
Yes. I can't see it from where I'm sitting, Eric, but if you wanna read it, that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, all the growth in the scholarship fund, is that all due to market growth, or did we actually put money into that
That's a
fund?
great question, Eric. As of yet, and it's funny you mentioned that, Lex, and I just briefly spoke about it before the meeting. For the current year endowment contribution that was budgeted of 10,000, that has not yet been done. And when I say current year, the current Rotary year. So there is a few, I'm going to guess, there's a few member contributions that have been made since July 1 of last year, i.e. the current Rotary year. But most of that growth, Eric, is related to market growth of the investments.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions?
I make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Okay, for our own internal review. Thank you.
Thank you.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Election. Thank you. Just let the board know that I will have my preliminary budget for the next Rotary year at the next board meeting. Chris told me coming in, he's going to send me a preliminary that he's going to work up in the next week or two, and then I'm going to meet with Cindy actually later today, and she's going to try and educate me as exactly what we're seeing here. So I understand it better going forward. Thank you, Chris.
No problem.
Okay. We have a report from a written report from the Emmaus Rotary Club Foundation that Cindy sent us in the email.
I have extra copies. Does anybody need one?
Does I don't want you to time, does anybody have any questions on that?
That's what I was going to ask. Go ahead.
Cindy, are we all caught up with that now as far as money coming out of that to the club?
Yeah, pretty much we're getting there.
Okay.
I'm already some thank you cards, we have thank you cards coming. The good news is you saw in the report, with some of the community grants we got, and I've been in contact with their products because we have $1,000 coming in from them. And she wants to do something with media coverage and Facebook. I said, what's your format? If she'd like to come to our club and present it, we can have these kind of press and all that. I have not heard back. The only thing that we have to discuss, and I'm waiting for Mario because of tax season, is in the account we have $6,000 of unrestricted funds. And I'm doing the math here. We need to keep some monies in there to manage the foundation account, but Mario hasn't given to me that. then we need to discuss where we would put that money. And just talking out loud, our goal for the scholarships is $100,000. We have 79. We have 10,000 we haven't put in there for this year. That would be 89. We can put 5,000 of the unrestricted from the foundation towards that, which we would have the ability to do depending on what Mario said. Then we're almost at our 5,000. That means in your budget for next year, we can reduce the amount so you have more to give out.
Right.
Okay, I have a
just figured that out last night when I was.
Okay, I have a question. Where is the line item for the scholarships that are restricted?
It isn't.
Why not?
Oh, because we don't have any currently. This was as of we don't have any donations in there currently. Any monies that we had were already transferred to the Advanced Rotary Club.
So in this cash balance, there is a restricted amount for scholarship.
If it shows in there, yes.
It doesn't.
That's because there's nothing in there right now. It was already transferred to the Advanced Rotary Club.
No.
So if we get,
Cindy, the endowment we're building up to be $100,000, where is that money?
Yeah, it's 79.
So that's not part of this. Okay, thank you.
It's in here. I think.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
I didn't understand what.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And I believe we made a transfer, Chris, to that scholarship fund, again, between the ball founding and whatever we had.
Yeah, the foundation is giving me a check. But the Emmaus Rotary Club has a $10,000 budgeted amount that comes out of our operating account and moves it into the scholarship account.
Right.
So that's just a transfer within the Emmaus Rotary Club. It has nothing to do with the foundation. That $10,000 transfer has not yet taken place. Lex and I briefly spoke about it earlier.
I understood that.
Okay.
That's, I want to just make sure we're all on the same page, and I agree. That scholarship fund is noted as a mutual fund, and it's at $79,415. Right now, it's a mutual fund.
Mutual funds, plural.
Plural, okay, thank you.
That is, and for further clarification, I'm not sure if it's a committee. I believe it's a committee, but at a minimum, it's Jeff at Edward Jones is responsible for the management of those investments. I don't have anything to do with the management side. That's not my deal. But as of now, there's a $10,000 transfer from the operations account to that managed account, investment account, that has not yet taken place in this Rotary year. Between now and the end of the Rotary year, it will take place. So that'll be another $10,000 bump here. The flip side is, at some point, the investments may not go up in value, it may go down in value. But again, that's out of my control.
And our goal is to get to 100,000.
Correct.
So did you follow my math with what I said?
Yes. My question is, does the foundation need a board decision on the unrestricted money?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Actually, I want to make a quick comment there. Foundation's a separate legal entity.
Right.
I'm really uncomfortable with this board making decisions that impact them.
We just
Perfect.
clarified that.
Okay, good.
The Rotary Foundation Board will clarify that.
Yes.
We wanted to make sure after the presentation that the club board understood, because we had so many good people.
I think while you were out, we did a lot of work on the foundation.
I was kept apprised early on, but yes, Cindy's presentation, I was here.
Okay. All right. We have named the, thank you, Cindy. We have named the new board of directors, Wade, Nellie, Courtney, and Eric. And I want to thank John and Rose for their service as directors. Old business. We're back at our tabled item for the Emmaus Garden of Remembrance. And Mike, you had requested.
Well, I think we were going to ask Chris what the donation had been.
How much were you requesting?
Whatever was donated before. I think it was 300 or 350. cover our insurance.
The question we had last time was whether we had $300.
We do.
Okay. So is there someone that would make a motion
For the $300 donation?
or 350, whatever your motion you want to make?
I thought we had, at the last meeting, I thought we had said that we would do whatever we had done before if the money was there. So I believe there's a prior motion from a prior board meeting.
That was tabled.
Yeah, but
Okay.
we were going to,
Okay.
it was going to be a donation, the same as whatever was donated before.
Do you happen to know what that is?
I don't.
Okay.
I can, if you want to make the motion to do the same as, and when we say before, in the prior Rotary year, I guess, is what we're alluding to. If someone wants to make that motion, I can certainly dig up that number. My recollection was something along those lines in that neighborhood. Conversely, if someone wanted to do a specific donation amount, that's fine.
Yeah, and I will do that, except I want to ask a question. Does it need to be more by any chance or no?
Well, I know our insurance was $391 this year. It went up because we put the new footbridge in. So $350 is fine. That is a godsend to us.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we.
Yeah, I think our
Comparable to last
parliamentarian
year
is
is fine.
telling us we already have a motion made. Is that correct, Rick? Eric, is that what we already have a motion?
At a prior board meeting, then you're open for a motion
Okay.
right now.
All right.
So I'll make the motion that we donate $350 towards the Remembrance Garden.
I'll second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
With my Remembrance Guard hat on, thank you so much. To cover, that's 10 bricks. I look at everything and how many bricks does it take to pay the bills? That's 10 bricks for us. So
Okay.
thank you so much. That is a godsend to us. Thank you.
Cindy, do you want to update us on the feeding program?
The numbers are starting to go down again. Like for example, at Mass High School, we only distributed 77. That's down from well over 100. So you can see that change. So the average is still over 150, but it's kind of 130, 120. And we're good now through the end of the school year. So all the monies that you're seeing will now help when you have to start purchasing for the next year's fundraisers. We're in good shape.
Thank you.
Not yet, we don't have enough, but.
Yeah.
Just want to make a quick comment.
Go ahead.
Primarily for the minutes. This is a great program that Cindy's headed up here. And I think it's fantastic. And as I said, I want to make sure that the board understands that and that's documented in our minutes. I think, to be honest with you, it's, these projects is why I feel Rotary's doing a great thing.
I echo his-
Yeah.
That's a great point.
All in favor of acclaiming that notion?
By acclamation.
Acclamation. Was that? Yeah. Right. Thank you, Cindy. Bye, Don.
See you later. Thanks, guys.
Membership, you have the floor, Wade. Courtney's here.
Okay, yeah, so if Courtney wants to add anything, tonight we're doing our training meeting. We're gonna go over the various aspects of what our new system's gonna look like, the priority model is, as Mike Whitehall calls it. And then after we're done kind of going through that training, then we expect to have that underway and in motion starting tomorrow morning. So very excited to get this thing put to sea. So I don't know if Courtney has anything that she really wants to add, but I think that pretty much covers it. The membership is organized and in action now.
No, nothing else for me. Thank you,
Okay,
Wade.
you have a question about a $30 fee, membership fee?
I brought that up, I believe.
Yeah, I defer to Mike on that.
I noticed that when we were working through the process with our newest member, with Eileen, I saw on the application form that there's a $30 application fee, which I didn't realize was there. So I question, when we talk about what deters people from joining or remaining members, I just question why we're charging $30. Now, someone, I forget who it was, said for the material for pins and for paper products or whatever else it is we give them, but I just think that's a lot to, one more, it's another deterrent to people joining. I don't know, I just throw it out there and see what other people. Jim, you had a question?
Yeah, I took a look at it and I hadn't had a chance to chat with Chris about it, but of the last 6, I think only one's paid that fee. I mean, 5 of the last 6 new members, I don't think we actually got the fee unless the fee bypassed me and went right to Chris. I don't think not much. So we don't have a real the ticket. There's a couple application forms out there, but one of them says, hey, you're $30 the next meeting. Well, no one ever asked for it. And I didn't take it responsibility to do that. So we don't have a real tight process there. There is something to be said for having a little commitment from the applicant too. This is not just a, this is not just a, oh, come and be entertained. There's a commitment involved.
If I could chime in when Jim is done.
Go ahead.
Okay, no, that's fine, Jim. I just wasn't sure if you saw that anybody saw my hand was raised. The reason we've had that for a long time, and it's actually our bad that we're not collecting it. It is to show intent, because Rotary is a group where we need service above self. It's not just something where you come in, you think it's a business networking group, and you just mingle with people for a while till you're done with them. You make all your business connections and you leave. So there is intent behind that $30 is to that someone is serious, and that's part of the membership committee sits down with the folks, during the interview process and lets them know. And yes, it just takes care of some of the necessary office work that's needed to bring a member into our Rotary Club. So I, for one, am not one for looking to get rid of that fee.
And maybe it was Eric, the term that he used, not a buy-in, but a commitment, or there was something that someone said. Intent is certainly, I just think 30 is a little more than I would propose maybe 15. I think that's still a little skin in the game, but I leave that up to the board to.
Well, why doesn't the membership committee come back with a recommendation of what they want to do? They should have a standardized thing that they are doing, and they let us know. And if it's any change from what the past practice should be, which is collecting $30, that should be our practice. If the membership committee is going to change that, come back to the board with a motion and tell us what you want to do. If you change it and we're swallowing that fee, I want it in the membership budget, not floating around in the air.
Okay, well, Wade and Courtney, put that on your agenda then, and that check should really come with the application that the new member fills out. Whatever, that should be part of that application form that they submit, that they should submit the check with it then. We shouldn't have to chase that down.
And then be voted on until that check is paid.
Correct. See, this is just one of those things in the membership process that over the years, it just has been slipped through the cracks with the pandemic and all. And these are the kind of things we're trying to tidy up here and formalize and structure a little bit more.
Actually, let me play devil's advocate there. If I heard everyone correct, we're asking them to pay before they've been approved by the board and the club. Is that correct?
That's what Eric said.
Be contingent upon them being a member, but in order for their membership application to be considered, they need that $30. If they were to be refused membership, they would get that $30 back.
Since we're continuing this, I have one comment. And all due respect to Eric, and I understand where he's coming from. I think if we accept them as a member, they're going to immediately pay dues, right? To some extent.
Yeah.
I think that's the commitment. Doing $110 a year, or $220 a year, I'm sorry, is it a commitment in itself? So I think we should rethink that $30 fee. Actually, I do remember paying it though. I think I gave.
Your sentiment has been heard by the membership committee.
Okay.
Thank you. Bill Erdman, Cindy.
I just have one thing. If we say you have to pay $30, we're trying to get members in quickly because we have the law, that's going to hold it up. So if there's a way to do around that, think about it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Bill Erdman's not here. Is there a foundation report?
I just want to tell everybody we're not quite at our foundation goals yet. And the foundation, giving grants from the World Fund is going to decrease. And if we get it in before the 31st, we can still get 100% match. So we're trying to do that so we don't have to make it part of our carryover to that, so we can use it. I'll update you.
Okay, thank you. Karen, did you have anything to add to community service?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. Good news is Wheels of Time is actually going to go ahead. So we always make a little bit of money on that. So that's the end of August. Hillside School has asked if we could help with mulch. So we will help with mulch, free mulch sometime. One thing, the Voice Garden, you know, you've been spending a little bit of money each season, spring. And summer on putting plants in. I'm not going to be putting plants in because the board seems to be disintegrating more mulch, so it's a lot more work and it's a lot more money. And we maybe have an idea of maybe taking it all out, but we don't have to pay for that. Taking it all out and maybe putting in a tree, a small tree, and a seat, a chair. Keeping our signpost there, our Rotary Club, because it's a great visual impact for us. So maybe looking at putting some sort of tree and sit there, but you know, that will take some time. The rescue mission will be putting in about $200 for receipts. So really, that's all the project costs. I mean, I know everybody contributed, so that's excellent. So we will be doing maybe another one. I think we'll give it a little bit of time. Yeah, we were planning maybe doing something for Turning Point, maybe a cake, a birthday package. But it would be a lot less cost, you know, and quite good. Very good. The East Penn Press wants to do something, and I will let you have. I've already talked to East Penn Press, but I just need to get this together, and I'll shoot you an email before I'm proposing to send to the
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, we have questions, I'm sure.
It's real quick. Karen, can you send me the date for the Wheels of Time and I'll put it in the punch list?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Newsletter?
Yeah, punch.
It's a joke.
Sorry? No, I don't know.
And
Whose land is it?
It's
Okay, so they have to be looped into whatever you're doing. And if Sal's involved, I'm sure the tree won't be too big.
Somebody else the borough to bring it down, but you know, with the team, we could probably shift that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're looped in on the bench. All right.
Karen, the first item on your list was Wheels of Time. The second was Hillside School, right?
Yes,
Okay, I got it.
Hillside School, they've taken out their shrubs.
Oh.
Basically said we weren't going to pay for that. They've taken out their shrubs, and then they'll need help with mulching when they put the new shrubs in. And we could do that, especially if it's free mulch. That's all. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. John, do you have anything for public image? Oh, Eric, did you have a question?
Just a quick note, if it is possible, I realize it's tricky. If the microphone in the center of that table can be moved when people away from the table are speaking, because we're really not picking up what Cindy and Karen and them are saying. I know we'll pick it up in Jim's notes eventually, but if someone can move that microphone when someone else is speaking, I think it would help everybody.
Just come up here and talk.
Yeah, it's a corded microphone, but they could come up here to the microphone.
It's really his allergies. John, public image, anything?
Not a quarter microphone.
Lexa, there's no more cold, there's no flu, there's no allergies. It's all COVID. We know that.
On that note,
On that note, let me take off my mask and breathe on y'all.
No, I honestly, I don't have anything else on public image. We just finished the Angel Network stuff with Eileen. We also did the article in the East Penn Press for all the graduates over at Emmaus, which we do every year. Besides that, that's pretty much it.
Okay. That's the ad thanking our Interact students at Emmaus High School.
Right.
The graduating ones. Thank you, John. And thanks for trying new things today. I think it worked a little better.
Good job, John.
Yeah, thank you.
Tony's not here. Rose, do you have anything? She's going to unmute herself first.
Sorry. For youth, I don't know of anything youth exchange. We are doing virtual exchange program for the summer instead of the short-term exchange. And we do have one student that I recruited to be representative of the Emmaus Rotary Club. And I've emailed one of the counselors at the high school, and he's going to be getting it on the board. So potentially we might have more. There is no cost to the club, so we could have up to 20 students district-wide. So hopefully we just get the word out.
All right, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rose. And Larry did say Camp Nighty, if we get some virtual campers, we'll need a service project for them. Fundraising for, Mike, oversight.
I haven't really been, I know Ethan, well, we'll go in order here. Eric, do you want to say anything about the flag subscription service?
Quickly, so we may miss Memorial Day, but we need to get the marketing piece ready and find out where we're getting flags from and all that. So I'll be reconvening with my group probably early part of next week to start looking at making progress.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sal?
Yep. I encourage everybody to register for the bags and beer and cornhole as quickly as possible so we can get a head count, because by next Friday, we are going to have to order boards. So if you want a board with your company name or name on it, got to be in by Friday. So and encourage everyone to do that.
Miniature golf, we're still looking to find someone to chair that. And I'll just move that forward. That's all I have.
Okay, we talked a little bit about, thank you. We talked a little bit about the Endowment and Scholarship Fund. So we're on to club committee reports. Fellowship, Megan, anything?
Not a whole lot to report. We are trying to put together a sort of four-way test fellowship picnic at Community Park at the end of June. So stay tuned for that. And we have an Iron Pig night in the works for the end of July. And we have our monthly meeting the first Thursday of every month is our fellowship committee meeting at 7 a.m.
Okay, thank you. And, Sue sent me a written report that I'll give to the secretary about Flag Day. Basically, they are meeting. They had to get a new speaker. They're working with a 7th generation school, trying to figure out how to do music, but they're definitely chewing on that. I think it's a Sunday afternoon. And I can email you her report too, as well as giving it to Jim. Golf tournament.
There was a meeting the other night that I attended. They're moving forward. I'm going to take on the, as Rick said today, the British Open in 2022. Those tickets, they have 2 of those, plus a trip to the Caribbean. And we're looking for prizes for 3, 4, and 5. I'd like to go to 5 prizes this year and sell more tickets, probably $100 tickets again, tentatively. The British Open is huge. It's 150th anniversary. We're going to try and promote it literally around the world and get people to come to that. And so, yeah, they're moving forward.
What time of year is that?
It's in September. Right, September? No,
So the British Open usually is in July,
July, that's what it is, yeah.
but with COVID, well, hopefully it should.
Hopefully it'll be July. But it's at St. Andrews, it's 150, it's a coveted ticket. It's a really good ticket, 2 tickets, I should say.
Thank you. Mark reported that they've moved their date from August to September.
I just texted him and asked him the exact date. He didn't respond.
Okay. Valerie's not online. I have no report from Valerie. She does have a new book out.
Yes, I got it.
Alicia's not here, but I'm sure her committee is doing its evaluation and will gear back up, and they have a budget item now, $1,000 for next year. The EDI, anything that you want to say?
Yeah, the survey is in. We're processing it later this afternoon with our committee. Probably have a couple more months of meeting and a couple more efforts to undertake. Alicia and I facilitate it, but we let the committee decide what they want to do. And we've got an agenda for our meeting later today.
I was at the district training online Saturday, and we're so far ahead of the district. It's just,
I think so.
yeah.
They're figuring out that they have to change their strategy to, I think, it's movements to move in a more productive fashion.
I had a written report that I'll forward from Gary, who says basically the Rotary banner project is done. The banners themselves have been pressed, alphabetized, to put into labeled bins. Digital photographs have been taken of all of them. And Valerie's in the process of working on getting it on our website. And it'll probably be in the section about Emmaus Rotary.
I just have to tell you, it's so cool. Gary and Chris gave something new, but they look so cool. And they're talking about Chris do a video with Roger and Gary having some more old tapes in a box that somebody that goes back to when they first had videos. So it gives those two something to keep watching. It's going to be really cool. High tech. I'm sorry.
I'm going to click on it and look at those banners. Some of them are quite beautiful. And Roger at the club assembly said that the Centennial Planning Committee is working on getting the history together and the artifacts together, which is the first step. There's more to do. It's going to be a year-long celebration. Anything from the AV club? John, Eric?
Things went great at the meeting this morning. This is one of the few times I'm actually out in the virtual land. It was easy to hear everything for that. So we're definitely making progress on stuff. And again, everything's still, what we eventually, I think, end up doing is going to be impacted by whatever Brookside ends up doing with their whole AV system, which, you know, I'm only hearing it from, you know, Dominic and Robert. I don't have it from head office, but apparently they are having to replace the entire system. So I don't think there's any need for us to do anything really additional to what we're doing already. The meetings seem to be going pretty good until Brookside decides what we're doing. And one of the major things we need them to do is upgrade the bandwidth on their Wi-Fi. That is still what's causing issues. I know the other last week when I was there with Jim being logged on to do attendance, that's what kept knocking my phone out all the time. Is because which is nothing wrong with it. It's just we're all fighting for bandwidth. So if anybody else as a member is sitting there trying to do something online while the meeting's going on, that it's reducing. So it's one of those things. Bandwidth is what we need. I just saw some recommendations last night for another thing on just how to do virtual meetings, and you need at least 40 megabytes plus of both up and download capabilities to have good bandwidth for everybody. But so far it's working out pretty well.
Here's what happens, Eric. Also, when you're sharing multiple streams, like right now we're sharing 5 streams in total. Okay, you're quadrupling, if not more, the bandwidth for every single stream that's happening. which is why Zoom, for instance, limits you to X amount on one specific screen. And again, with the bandwidth that Brookside currently has, once you get over 15, 20 people sharing a video, you're crippling their network. And then you're doing, let's say you're doing another remote session with your phone, then you're doubling what we just quadrupled before. So it gets to be a bandwidth problem. But I think today, besides the little hiccup that I had earlier, as soon as I got in there, but I think today was probably one of the better days overall. The sound was fine. The microphone was fine. Again, depending on where you are in the room, sometimes it's a little too muffled, especially with people wearing masks. But again, we do what we can with what we have.
Okay, John, make sure that the equipment that you purchased, that you put in money for it.
Yeah, I will. Like I said, before I was going to do that, I wanted to make sure that it worked to our satisfaction. If not, it would have went right back to Amazon.
And John Chisk is working with me to make it possible that I don't bring my laptop anymore. The key, I'm trying to get attendance for virtual, and I think we have a process that we can say that it's reliable. And I won't fire up my laptop. I'm not having to get my laptop on the way to the laptop.
Yeah, no worries. And like I said, I'll be able to. I'll make sure that you're copied on the email that automatically goes out. So once we're done with this meeting, in a couple of minutes, an email gets sent out from 3CX with a link, so you can download the video along with whoever signed on for the entire session.
John, what do you want us to?
Right, and I wasn't picking on Jim. It was just more a notation of if we have multiple people trying to go online at the same time, we just crash the Wi-Fi network.
John, what do you want us to do
we're not
with your
picking on you,
equipment?
Jim. What was that?
What do you want us to do with your equipment that's here?
If you leave it somewhere there, I can go run after it later on this afternoon, or if you guys know where I live, somebody's in the area here, just drop it off. Whatever's easier.
Okay. Wade said he'll drop it off.
I'll text me his address and it'll come right up.
Can you hear Wade? Okay, good.
Do we have any unfinished business? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All right, thank you, guys. There is, the district conference is online. You can sign up for it. It's $25 if you do the 3 days. But Sunday morning is our district meeting. And you can sign up for that one for free. It's a Zoom type thing. You sign up and get a link.
Okay, thank you.
So those dates are on your agenda.
Can we go longer? I'm not used to being out of here at 9:30. This is just. Take care, everybody. Thank you, Chris.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you, John.
What's that first call?
I'm gonna go see Cindy.
Not even gonna try.
I think I finally understand.